Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Kathy. We are on part 6 of going through this book, Scientific Facts in the Bible, and there's a playlist so you can check that out. So we will dive right in. We're still in the chapter Science and Genesis. So this one, let's see. This title of this paragraph is The Bible Speaks of One Common Ancestor. So this is a quote from U.S. News and World Report, the magazine, from December 4th, 1995. It says, researchers suggest that virtually all modern men, 99% of them, says one scientist, are closely related genetically and share genes with one male ancestor, dubbed Y chromosome Adam. We are finding that humans have very, very shallow genetic roots, which go back very recently to one ancestor. That indicates that there was an origin in a specific location on the globe, and then it spread out from there. All right. So the next paragraph is the Bible and the universal flood. And this is a quote from Peter and Paul Lalonde. It must be a book, 301 Startling Proofs and Prophecies. And this quote is about 85% of the rock surface around the world is made up of sedimentary rock, indicating that at some time in the past, the world was covered by water. Okay. All right. This next paragraph is called The Law of Probabilities Confirms Genesis. All right. This looks like another quote from Sir Fred Hoyle, who is a professor, maybe was a professor of astronomy at Cambridge University. I've heard of him, Professor Hoyle. So yeah, he must be pretty famous. So, all right. Okay. So this quote says, the chance that higher life forms might have emerged in this way, parentheses, through evolution, is comparable to the chance that a tornado sweeping through a junkyard might assemble a Boeing 747 from the materials therein, end quote. And then a new quote, the likelihood of the formation of life from inanimate matter is 1 out of 10 to the 40,000th. It is big enough to bury Darwin and the whole theory of evolution. There was no primeval soup, neither on this planet nor on any other. And if the beginnings of life were not random, they must therefore have been the product of purposeful intelligence, end quote. Sir Fred Hoyle. Okay. And I've heard that before. I think it was Dr. Chuck Missler. He used to say that about, evolutionists believing, something was created from nothing, like things formed. And yeah. Yeah, he had a few good quotes if you ever want to check him out. But one of them, he would talk about, a junkyard, over time, a brand new car would form. It might take millions upon millions or maybe billions of years, but eventually maybe a brand new shiny Mercedes or whatever, just from all the parts in the junkyard, would work themselves together and attract to each other and all the other cars too. And they would, it's ludicrous. So that was the whole point, that, it wasn't evolution. The apes and the horses and the dogs and cats and all the plants and us, we didn't just get formed. And they go more into that also, that it's the likelihood, you can't even, yeah. like he says, 1 out of 10 to the 40,000th. So, okay. I always thought that was interesting. Okay, so the next paragraph is Genesis explains the origin of sexes. All right, I think this one's just a short one. Oh, maybe not. Okay, so it says almost all forms of complex life have both male and female. Horses, dogs, humans, moths, monkeys, fish, elephants, birds, etc. The male needs the female to reproduce, and the female needs the male to reproduce. We all know that. One cannot carry on life without the other. The Bible tells us that, quote, he who made them at the beginning made them male and female. And that's from Matthew 19:4. And so it says, if evolution is true, which then came first, according to the evolutionary theory? If the male came into being before a female, how did the male of each species reproduce without females? How is it possible that a male and a female each spontaneously came into being, yet they have complex complementary reproductive systems? If each sex was able to reproduce without the other, why and how would they have developed a reproductive system that requires both sexes in order for the species to survive? So yeah, that's, if you really think about it, were male horses, they were formed first, but then that doesn't make sense, and then, well, when were the females formed? And, they all would have died out. And so it just, once you really, and trust me, I used to be an evolutionist, and before I officially became a Christian, so I would argue and all that stuff before my eyes were opened. Thank the Lord. So let me know if, you guys, maybe used to think one way, now you think something else. Maybe you're on the fence. And like I said, I've been there. So, all right. So the next little paragraph, Genesis and the universe. Science expresses the universe in 5 terms: time, space, matter, power, and motion. Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 and 2 perfectly reveals such truths to the Hebrews in 1450 BC, quote, in the beginning, parentheses, time, God created, which is power, the heaven, which is space, and the earth, which is matter, and the Spirit of God moved, parentheses, which is motion, upon the face of the waters. The first things God tells man is that he controls all aspects of the universe. Okay, I'll do this last little paragraph, and then the next one we'll start a new chapter. Okay, Genesis differentiates man from the animals. The Bible tells us that animals are created, quote, without understanding, end quote, and that we are made in God's image. We aren't merely a higher form of species on the evolutionary scale. As human beings, we are aware of our being. God is, quote, I am, and we know that, quote, we are. We have understanding that we exist. Among other unique characteristics, we have an innate ability to appreciate God's creation. What animal gazes with awe at a sunset or at the magnificence of the Grand Canyon? What animal obtains joy from the sounds of music or takes the time to form itself into an orchestra to create and harmonize music? What animal among the beasts sets up court systems and apportions justice to its fellow creatures? And we are moral beings. Okay, and the last part, while birds and other creatures have instincts to create, like making a nest, we have the ability to uncover the hidden laws of electricity. We can utilize the law of aerodynamics to transport ourselves around the globe. We also have the God-given ability to appreciate the value of creation. We unearth the hidden treasures of gold, silver, diamonds, and oil and make use of them for our own benefit. Only humans have the unique capability to appreciate God for this incredible creation and to respond to his love. Okay. So again, that title was Genesis Differentiates Man from the Animals. All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming by for this one. I'll be back. The next chapter is Scientists and the Bible. This always fascinated me. I highlighted a bunch when I first got this book. Okay, I will see everyone in the next video. Hope everyone's doing well, and God bless.